So, continuing with my podcast number 3, in the previous podcast, I discussed how, I took the slot of March, April, and May, and I was on the verge of breaking down, and I just thought that I should revamp my life. See, there's not a particular day or particular time when you'll start, okay? It's never too late to start. This is what I've learned. So what I did was I took this lot and on a one fine day, I made up my mind that the distractions are going to come no matter what. So one instance I want to share with you that would be surprising to many of you. The thing is that around you can say 4 months back, I mean to say 4 months before my USMLE Step 1 exam, I took an NBME. I told you about the previous NBME. That was my first NBME that I took, and I failed in that. But 4 months before the exam, when my mother insisted me to take the exam as soon as possible, I took an NBME to see if I can go ahead with my exam. In that NBME, I scored around 200, and that was such a bad thing. And when results came, I was totally shattered. I want to tell you one thing that no one knows about. I paid for the fee once, and after getting the NBME score, I already took the date once. After getting the NBME score of 200, I dropped my plan to take the exam. Yes, this is very shocking. I paid all of my fee for the step 1, but since I was not getting the score that I wanted in the NBME, I just dropped the plan of taking the actual exam, and that was a biggest burden that I had, because I had wasted all the money on the exam, and I was in intense pressure to perform. No matter what, I knew that I had to do well in this exam, otherwise everything is going to change. Nothing will go in my favor. So coming on to the last 3 months of when I took the next slot, the last 3 months before the exam, I totally changed my preparation strategy. Earlier, I used to, watch the Kaplan videos, the other YouTube videos, as well as Dr. Najib videos, but they did no good to me. So from the in the last 3 months before the exam, I started my own technique to read, and that technique was not to follow anyone else. I stopped watching the Facebook groups, the post on the Facebook groups. I stopped watching the interviews that the toppers had, because nothing worked for me. It was only adding up to my anxiety. I was already in an anxious state, and I didn't really want any, you know, external anxiety source to, increase my panic level, which was there at that time. So first and the foremost thing that I did was I got rid of all the things that gave me anxiety. The first and foremost thing was to, wake up and look at the posts of people who have already done the exam, but they used to write the whole resources, like they had covered this book and this book. So that totally demotivated me, because I was not able to do in such a way. So I first and the foremost step I did was I blocked all those sites. I just after waking up, I never opened up my phone to look at what others were posting. The second thing that totally held me in my mental stability was to join Tumblr. Tumblr is like, to me, it's like my personal diary. So I came across Tumblr when I used to search images for the USMLE. And Tumblr is such a great platform. I made sure, because I actually had no one to share my story with, I made sure that I don't need any study partner, because you can never study with someone. Two people are totally different. You cannot pace up with same person, right? But what used to happen was my colleagues had study partners, and they did rigorous studies together. But it never worked out for me. Any study partner, it never worked, because sometimes what happened was, me and my study partner decided to cover a particular topic and discuss it tomorrow. But most of the times, what happened was that she was way ahead of me, and I was struggling to complete that topic. And the next day I was lying in my bed, dying in anxiety as well as guilt. Why? Because my study partner completed the topic, but I could not. So this is the most stupid thing to do, to compare yourself with someone else. So everyone is having different pace. My pace was not good at all. I knew that I cannot complete a subject in 3 days. Obviously I could not, because my reading speed was very low. So I knew my drawbacks, so I could not compare. So I eliminated the study partner technique also. So Tumblr was the thing that made me able to vent out my frustration, vent out my feelings, and whatever I did day to day, I used to post on Tumblr. Every day I used to post it on Tumblr that I did this and did that. I, my NBME is coming up. So Tumblr was like my virtual friend. No one knew me. I was not, not at all active on Instagram at that time. Although I had a Facebook page, but I chose Tumblr because I wanted a platform to share my honest thoughts, not being judged by others. Right? If on Facebook I would have posted that I failed my NBME the first time, obviously that would have, created such a bad image that people would have judged me like anything. That's why I chose Tumblr. Tumblr is a very good source. You can go ahead and post your day to day life, day to day, whatever feelings you want to share with the world. So it was like my virtual friend, because I never really discussed my strategies or my condition with anyone, because people used to judge. So that is how Tumblr helped me. The third thing I did was I started paying attention to my physical fitness also, because since a long period of time I did not work out. I always, tried to ignore the workouts and I never hit the gym. So I thought that in the last 3 months I should be, fit physically also, apart from being fit mentally. So my father had a cycle at home, so I started cycling every day in the morning. And honestly speaking, that helped me a lot. As they say that exercises, they lead to release of the endorphins, which are feel good hormones, and I actually felt that. After cycling, I was totally refreshed. Although in the beginning, 3 to 4 days, my legs were very sore and paining, but with time, I got that habit and my body was adapting really well. So I was doing good physically, my circulation improved. So that's how, I felt like studying more and more. The next thing that I did was I took a room upstairs. I used to live at home with my parents. So during my preparation, there were many distractions. That is why I came back home. I left the flat that I had here in Gurgaon. I came back home and I wanted to give the dedicated 3 months before my exam to my studies. So I took a room upstairs which was completely empty at that time. I used the walls of the room as well judiciously. How I used was that whatever topics that I felt were volatile, I wrote them on A4 sheets and I pasted them all over my walls. So if I would have been be having the picture of that room, I'll surely share that on my Instagram page. So my room was full of the A4 sheets, all those tables from UWord, all those flowcharts, images. And one very important tip that I want to give you is that try to draw the diagrams yourself rather than getting a printout, or rather than just imagining that thing. Try to draw the diagrams. So even if that diagram is not given in any book, you use your creative visual memory to create something, to draw something. If you are implementing, if you are applying your visual memory into implementation into application, definitely that will be consolidated in your long term memory. I trust me, that is a tried and testing tool that helped me a lot. So these are few of the strategies that I began my preparation with. In the next podcast, I'll be telling you how day by day I kept on improving, what all I did each and every day. So guys, I hope you are getting motivated by these podcasts. The only aim to create these podcasts is that I really want you guys to do well in life. I never had anyone in my life who could, guide me in the right direction regarding the MLE. I've seen people who were very mean to me. I've seen my friends who were totally mean to me. When they needed me, I was always there for them. But when the time came when I needed them, they were lost in the crowd. They were never there for me. So this is the, hard truth to swallow. This happens. This is a part and parcel of life, that even if you are available for people throughout, it's not necessary that they would also be there in your bad times, right? So that is how you keep on strengthening yourself, and you have a firm belief in God, because you get betrayed by people. So that is how life goes on. All right, I'll see you in the next podcast. Good night. Take care.